Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of What's On, where we give you a really brief rundown of all of the most noteworthy branded video content that has come out recently. And I'm Katie, and this is Commoner. Alright, so this month we are talking about difficult conversations. And it's often really easy to talk about your product or service if you're something really happy, like Cupcake Shop, or if you're selling babies' clothes. But if you are talking about something that we often like to avoid or is divisive, it's not as easy. So first up, we're going to talk about a video that March for Our Lives put out, which is an activist group in the US that is for gun control. So in this piece, they have invited a young girl into a staff meeting as resident expert of how to react if there's an active shooter in the school.
If there was an active shooter, you would all be dead. You can try and protect your friends by pushing the tables and chairs against the door.
So the advice that she gives is obviously incredibly shocking and heartbreaking, and that is the point. They want people to understand how awful these experiences are for these young children. So up next, we're going to talk about Gillette, who you may remember put out a very controversial piece a few months ago, The Best a Man Can Be in the US. But this time, they put out an iteration of that underneath the same tagline in India. And it's a really interesting piece. They basically have done a re-dramatization of a true story of these two young girls who own a barbershop, therefore sort of breaking down some gender stereotypes. So gender stereotypes are often a really difficult chat to have, partly because it often invites really intense reactions from the audience. So it's interesting to see how different cultures are approaching the same topic, but with a different style. So something a bit closer to home, my colleagues here at Commoner put out some beautiful videos just this last week with Palliative Care Victoria called Moments That Matter. So the conversation here is really around living, dying, and grieving well. It's a series of films about people who have been impacted by life-limiting illness. The stories themselves are heartbreaking and inspiring, but I think they speak to this fact that if you open up a space and make a safe space for people to tell their story, they'll do that in a way that's healing for both them and the viewer. So not all difficult conversations are sad ones, especially if your product is coconut water. So Coco Vita, which is a producer of coconut water, and arguably a product that makes just people kind of go, meh, they put out some videos where they found the most negative people on the internet and had them test their coconut water and then filmed their reactions. So I think it's a really great example of a brand embracing indifference about their product at best and hostility at worst.
It's doable.
Okay, that is all we have time for this round. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you have questions, comments, anything like that, throw them down there. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye.